The email hit like a silent grenade, exploding in my inbox as the salty Gulf breeze battered the oil rig. Subject: divorce. Let's settle this. A PDF attachment, cold and formal, ended 12 years of marriage with the precision of a surgical cut. My name's Ethan Carter, 40. A marine engineer with Gulf Star Oil, stationed for 5 months on a rig 200 miles off the coast of Houma, Louisiana. I was reviewing maintenance reports, the hum of machinery droning in the background, when the email alert flashed on my laptop screen. Sarah, my wife, had decided she was done waiting for me. The message was short, blunt, like she was scheduling a doctor's appointment. I've filled out the papers, sign and return. Let's keep this practical. She'd already moved our savings to an unknown account. She'd already brought her new boyfriend, Ryan, into our home in Gulfport, Mississippi, where we'd built our life. She'd already erased everything we'd meant to each other. I read the email 3 times, the roar of the turbines drowning out the silence growing in my head. I shut the laptop, splashed cold water on my face at the metal sink in the crew quarters, and went back to work, the smell of oil and salt clinging to my clothes. I didn't say a word to anyone. My crew, sweaty and loud, didn't need to know my world was crumbling under the weight of that message. That night, lying in a narrow bunk, the Gulf's sway rocking me like a mournful lullaby, I replied with, "Understood." No drama, no begging, just cold clarity. Jake, my roommate, a tattooed mechanic with 15 years on rigs, noticed my silence. "You good, man?" he asked, eyes glued to his phone, watching some random video. "All good," I lied, staring at the steel ceiling where shadows danced in the dim hallway light. "Just home stuff." He grunted, accepting the answer without pushing. Men of the sea know when to leave a guy alone. The truth? I wasn't shocked. For the past 8 months before this assignment, Sarah had changed. Small signs like distant lighthouse beams in fog. She stopped texting during my shifts, started taking trips with friends I'd never met, changed her phone passwords without explanation. I saw it but didn't confront her. That wasn't my style. Instead, I took precautions. Nothing rash, just calculated moves like tweaking a valve under pressure. I opened a separate bank account with another bank, siphoning off 20% of my paycheck, small enough to avoid suspicion, enough to shield me if the storm hit. I stashed key documents, marriage certificate, house deed, in my name only, thanks to the maritime loan. My dive watch, an heirloom from my sailor dad, in a rented safe deposit box in Houma. I backed up old family photos, taken on Sunny Beach, days to an encrypted drive. I didn't want to believe I'd need it, but the Gulf taught me to brace for waves you can't see coming. The night before I shipped out, Sarah drove me to the port in Houma. "Stay safe, okay?" she said with a quick hug, her eyes dry like she was saying goodbye to a co-worker. It wasn't a wife's farewell, it was someone who'd already checked out in silence. I should have seen it then, but a stubborn part of me wanted to be wrong. Wasn't. What Sarah didn't know was that I was ready for this moment. And what she didn't get was that when I'm challenged, I don't react with shouts or threats. I plan, and I win. I met Sarah in 2010 at a beachfront bar in Gulfport. I was on leave, tanned from the Gulf sun, swapping rig stories with buddies, the breeze carrying the scent of salt. She was an admin assistant at an oil company, 28, easy smile, curly hair glowing under the bar's lights. We got married a year later in a simple beach ceremony, seagulls soaring overhead, waves crashing as our soundtrack. She said she loved my dedication, but she never grasped the weight of my job, the responsibility of keeping a rig running without mistakes. My dad was a sailor, my mom a school teacher. No engineers in the family, but I grew up hooked on the sea, on tales of ships and storms. I studied, graduated, built a career at Gulfstar, climbing from technician to senior engineer. Sarah came from a family of lawyers, folks who saw the Gulf as a photo backdrop, not a way of life. She'd ask when I'd get a desk job on shore, as if 15 years on rigs were a hobby, not a career. We bought our house in 2013, a modest 2-story in Gulfport with a view of the Mississippi Sound. 3 bedrooms, a yard where we planted A magnolia that bloomed white in summer. The mortgage was in my name, but I added Sarah to the deed. Couples share, I thought back then. My parents passed soon after. Dad from a heart attack while fixing a boat engine. Mom from leukemia after months of fighting. They left a small inheritance, enough to clear debts and save a nest egg for the future. I was deployed 5 times during our marriage. 2 rigs off Alabama, 2 in the Gulf of Mexico, 1 in the Atlantic. Each stint kept me away for months, the sea shaping me with its discipline. Each return showed Sarah drifting further, like she was rehearsing an exit, a role she didn't want anymore. "I didn't sign up to be a sailor's wife," she said once after a fight about my contract renewal. "I got her loneliness, but the Gulf was my home, where I belonged, where every choice I made saved lives." By 2020, the signs were undeniable. Sarah started working late, claiming special projects at the oil company. She'd spend weekends away at wellness retreats with people I'd never met. She bought clothes she never wore at home, paid for a gym she never used, the credit card showing steep charges. I saw it but didn't ask. My dad taught me, never accuse without proof. So I watched, and I prepared, like sensing the pressure drop before a hurricane. 2 weeks after the divorce email, I was in the rig's mess hall, the smell of oil and coffee mixing with the clatter of forks on metal plates. My phone buzzed, a bank notification. The joint account, which held $62,000, was down to 42 cents. Sarah had transferred it all to an unknown account, as if she could erase years of sweat with a click. I pocketed the phone, finished my rice and beans, and went back to work, the machine's roar muffling the knot in my throat. That night in the comms room with the Gulf roaring outside, I called the bank. I learned Sarah had been moving money for months, $2,000 here, 5 there, until the final withdrawal wiped it clean. "It was authorized by the account holder," the rep said in a flat tone. I closed my eyes, the hum of the rig in the background. "Thanks," I said, hanging up, the weight of betrayal settling like an anchor. Jake found me in the break room, playing cards with the guys, the air thick with cigarette smoke and hoarse laughs. "You look like you missed the boat." "Ethan," he joked, holding a coffee mug. He was the only one I trusted out here, a friend forged in the long nights of the rig. "My wife cleaned out our account," I admitted, voice low to avoid attention. "Sent divorce papers and is shacking up with some guy in my house." Jake dropped his cards, eyes narrowing. "Damn, man, what's the plan?" "Don't know. Yet," I said, fiddling with the poker chips on the table. "But I'll figure it out." He nodded, clapping my shoulder. "You need me. Just say it." That night, I didn't sleep. The Gulf's sway seemed to mock me. I logged into our home security system, cameras I'd set up 2 years ago with cloud backup to monitor break-ins. Sarah never cared, probably forgot they existed. The footage showed a black SUV in the driveway, a stranger, Ryan I assumed, playing fetch with our mutt buddy in the yard. He wore my leather jacket, drank coffee from my Gulf Star mug. Sarah laughed on the porch, the sun glinting off her hair, as if I'd never existed. Something shifted in me. Not anger, but focus, like calibrating a machine under pressure. I grabbed my notebook and made a list. Contact Emily, a lawyer friend, check the mortgage, request emergency leave, review my naval pension accounts. This wasn't about blind revenge. It was about reclaiming what was mine, brick by brick. At 4 a.m., with the Gulf calm outside, I emailed Emily. "Need legal help. Urgent and discreet." She replied at 6. "Secure line, call me." On the call, I laid it all out, the email, the drained account, the cameras. "Ethan, this is serious," she said, voice steady. "Looks like fraud. We'll move fast." 2 months later, I was back in the States. The scorching Gulfport sun, a stark contrast to the Gulf's chill. I didn't tell Sarah. I checked into a cheap motel downtown, the smell of mildew mixing with salt air, and met Emily. We sat at a diner on the Gulfport shore, the sea shimmering under the blazing sun, gulls screeching overhead. "You look thin," she said, handing me a leather folder. Rig life, I joked, opening it. Inside were the house deed, bank statements, mortgage docs. Then she slid over a separate paper. Check this. I found a refinancing request for the house with your signature, but it's not yours. I studied the document, heart racing. The signature was close, but the E was off, the line shaky, like it was signed by someone nervous. Sarah forged this? I asked, voice low. Emily nodded. 4 months ago, she pulled $150 grand from the house's equity and listed a co-applicant, Ryan Brooks. Who's this guy? I asked, the sound of waves outside amplifying the betrayal. Ryan's got a record, Emily said, adjusting her glasses. Credit fraud, scams. Looks like he and Sarah are planning to sell the house. I closed the folder, the Gulf's rhythm blending with the pulse in my chest. What are my options? Plenty, Emily said with a strategic smile. But you need to decide what you want. I thought for a moment, Sarah's laughter from the cameras flashing in my mind. I want my house, my money, and for them to pay for what they did. She nodded. Then we play hardball. The next day I drove by the house, the magnolia in the yard glowing white against the blue sky. Ryan's SUV was in the driveway, but Sarah's white sedan wasn't. I stayed on the street, hidden behind a tree, watching. I wanted to pound on the door, confront them, let the anger speak, but that wasn't the plan. I drove to the bank, showed my maritime ID, the real signature on my driver's license, the forged document. The manager, a guy with glasses and a sweaty forehead, went pale. This is fraud, I'll report it now. I already filed a police report, I said, voice firm. I want the funds frozen. That night, Sarah texted, You went to the bank? Ryan said someone asked about the mortgage. What's going on? I didn't reply, letting silence do the talking. At the county clerk's office, I contested the refinancing, presenting proof of the forgery, my true signature, the police report, bank emails. I filed to block any property changes without my physical presence. 2 days later, Sarah called, voice shaky. Ethan, we need to talk. The bank's talking fraud. Is this about the divorce? I let it go to voicemail. The Gulf sound through the motel window echoing her urgency. Emily called that afternoon. The refinancing funds are frozen. And get this. Ryan was pulled over driving your truck, which is in your name. Suspended. License. The vehicle's impounded. I smiled, a cold smile. And they found something in the truck, she went on. Documents from Sarah's office. Fake contracts with client signatures. She's in on this? I asked, the weight of betrayal swelling like a wave. Looks like it. The police are digging. I closed my eyes, picturing Sarah laughing with Ryan. Part of me wanted to warn her, give her a chance. But then I saw the cameras, her in my house, handing over my life like it was trash. No, she chose this path. The next morning, I met a fraud. Investigator Mike, at a small precinct, the AC dripping on the floor. He had deep wrinkles and a no-nonsense vibe, like he'd seen it all. Frauds like this are common, he said, spreading papers on a chipped wooden desk. Spouse deployed. The other sees an opportunity. But this is bigger. How so? I asked, leaning forward. He turned his monitor, showing bank statements. The refinancing transfers went to a David Holt, not Ryan. Who's David? I pressed, voice tight. Real estate broker, Mike said, scratching his beard. Specializes in quick sales. We think he and Ryan are running a scheme. Emily confirmed later over the phone. David and Ryan had worked together on 5 cases, always the same MO. Charm women in divorces, forge documents, sell houses below market value, split the profits. Did Sarah know? I asked, the Gulfie. Outside seeming to roar louder. Not sure, Emily said. She might be a victim or an accomplice. That night I sat in the motel, a warm beer in hand, the ceiling fan spinning slowly. I thought of Sarah, our early years, nights dancing, on Gulfport's beach, cool sand under our feet. Was she a pawn manipulated by Ryan or in on it from the start? It didn't matter anymore. This was bigger than us. Other families had suffered the same, their homes stolen while they served at sea. Sarah texted again, "Ethan, call me. The bank's on me, Ryan's arrested, I don't know what's happening." I replied for the first time. "Who's David Holt?" She typed, stopped, typed again. "No idea what you're talking about." 10 minutes later, "It's not what it looks like." I turned off the phone, the room's silence louder than the Gulf. Emily called the next morning. "The police want to talk. They've been tracking David and Ryan for months. Your case could bring them down." For the first time, I felt a spark of satisfaction, not for the marriage's end, but because the truth was surfacing, like a ship breaking through after a wreck. I met the investigators in a meeting room, the smell of stale coffee in the air. Agent Lisa, short hair and sharp eyes, and Agent Tom, crooked glasses and notebook in hand, took my statement. "Your case connects the dots," Lisa said, pointing to a flowchart on the screen. "It shows a pattern of organized fraud targeting naval families." "And Sarah?" I asked, voice steady but with a flicker of doubt. Tom hesitated, adjusting his glasses. "We're assessing. She claims Ryan manipulated her, says she didn't know everything." I thought of her texts, the cameras, the forged signature. "She lied about David," I said. Lisa jotted it down, her pencil scratching. "The paper. That helps." That night I drove through the neighborhood, the Mississippi Sound reflecting the city's lights. The house was dark, Ryan's SUV gone. Sarah texted, "Meet me at the pier tomorrow, let's talk." I showed Emily at breakfast. "Don't go," she advised, stirring her coffee. "She's desperate." "I want to know her play," I said. The smell of fresh biscuits in the diner clashing with the tension. The next day at 9 a.m., I parked near the house, the sun glaring off the pavement. At 9:30, Sarah left, driving her sedan to the pier. 20 minutes later, a car with a Realty logo pulled into the driveway. David Holt. Ryan greeted him, laughing, and they went inside. I opened the security app on my phone, heart pounding. The indoor cameras showed David snapping photos of the living room, Ryan pointing out features. The fireplace, the windows with a sea view. "List it for 600 grand, David said, his voice echoing in the feed. "We've got a cash buyer. Sarah thinks her husband's offshore." Ryan laughed, the sound sharp. "Military guys are predictable, he'll cave." I recorded it all, every word, every gesture, and sent it to Lisa with the message, "Happening now." 30 minutes later, squad cars surrounded the house, lights flashing against the magnolia. Agents cuffed David and Ryan, who shouted as they were hauled off. Sarah pulled up, stopping on the lawn, hands on her face, body shaking with shock. Lisa called minutes later. "We caught them in the act. Fraud, conspiracy, forgery. Your video sealed it." "And Sarah?" I asked, watching her across the street, crying as agents searched the house. "She's at the station. Says she didn't know the full scheme." I thought of her laughter on the cameras, the forged signature. What did she know? "Up to you," Lisa said, voice neutral. I thought of the 12 years, the good times, barbecues in the yard, trips to Biloxi, and the betrayal that erased them. "I want justice," I said, voice firm. "What's right?" The case moved fast like a wave crashing on the shore. Ryan and David took pleas, ratting out others in a scheme that hit 8 naval families, with millions in fraud. Sarah admitted to the forgery, claiming Ryan's manipulation. She agreed to full restitution of the stolen funds, gave up any claim to the house and my pension, and signed a confession to avoid charges. The divorce finalized in 5 months, a period on a story that no longer belonged to me. On sentencing day, Lisa called, papers rustling in the background. "Ryan got 7 years, David 10. Your case saved other families, Ethan." I thanked her, a weight lifting off my shoulders. It wasn't joy, but relief, like loosening a rope after hours of strain. I sold the house months later, the magnolia still blooming, but the walls heavy with memories I didn't want to carry. With the money, I bought a small coastal plot in Apalachicola, Florida, with a view of the Gulf, the horizon stretching like a promise. 2 bedrooms, an orange grove, the silence broken only by birdsong. I retired from Gulf Star after 18 years, the sea still in me, but now as a choice, not a duty. I adopted a lab, Max, who races across the property, barking at the waves. I started fixing boats for local fishermen, the wood under my hands bringing a piece the rig never did. My pension covered the rest, a security Sarah couldn't touch. Sometimes I thought of Sarah, wondered where she was. Emily heard she moved back to her parents in Mobile, working at an accounting firm, trying to rebuild. I didn't hate her. Honestly, I felt nothing. She made her choices, faced the consequences. I made mine, and they led me to a place where the sun sets in silence. One day I got a letter from a woman in Pensacola. Her husband, a sailor, was hit by a similar scheme. Their home nearly sold while he was at sea. "Your case saved us," she wrote, her handwriting shaky. "Thank you for fighting." I tucked the letter in a drawer next to my dad's dive watch, its tick still steady after decades. Sitting on the porch of my plot, watching the sun sink into the Gulf, oranges and purples blending on the horizon, I realized I was at peace. I didn't plan to be anyone's hero or take down a scheme that hurt so many families. I just wanted what was mine, what I'd built with sweat and time. But sometimes fate carries you further, makes you a light where there was shadow. And you, what would you do if you found out the person you trusted most betrayed and robbed you while you served far from home? Drop it in the comments. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your rating for this story? If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss any gripping stories. Check out the video on your screen now. Catch you next time.